crawling around out here.
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my sensor light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something looks like a man. I don't know what it was. Just it ran across the yard.
Okay. You've had problems in the neighborhood before?
Yeah, my dog was killed here just recently. I don't know what it was. Whatever it is, it's running. I couldn't catch it if I was going to chase it. So whatever it was, it was taking it out. I'm out here looking through the window now and I don't see anything. I don't want to go outside. Jesus Christ, you better. Damn.
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
Son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Okay, hang on.
He's right.
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
And the guy is on foot.
I don't know what, it's a big, real big person. That's all I can say.
Okay, but it is a person.
Yeah, I'd say it was a person, somebody really big. But he's all in black.
Is he a black male or a white male? Did you actually see whether, or was he just wearing black?
He's all black and he's big. He is big.
Hello, everyone, from the remote jungles of Clinton Falls, Indiana. This is Larry Battson on a Friday night. For those taking notes, June the 26th, 2020. This is Talking All Bigfoot. Hi, Mike. Nice to have you with us tonight. Thank you very much. I feel great. And it's great to have all of our listeners and viewers here with us. Austin. I am feeling well, Austin. Thank you very much. In fact, I'm feeling great. I'm going to tell you right now, for the folks that may not have been aware, 2.5 weeks ago, I had cancer surgery and they removed a tumor from my kidney, well, along with part of the kidney. And feeling pretty good. Hello, Michael, Mr. Overton. Nice to have you with us tonight. Carrie, nice to have you along. It's always my co-host. The Yeti, North America's greatest drinking device. It will keep. And tonight we are hosting sweet tea. Yeah, Crystal Light. Pretty good. I highly recommend it, even though they don't give us any money. But it's pretty good. And don't forget, every day for the youngsters, well, the oldsters as well, at 3 p.m. Monday through Friday, we draw animals and talk animals, have fun. So it's great to be back, Dave. Nice to have you with us tonight. I want to tell everyone, too, a couple young friends of mine have just put a video on YouTube. It's a rap video, but it's pretty cool. And if you go to my timeline, you'll see it on there. And I encourage you to share it and check it out. And it's really awesome what those young high school students have done. So it's very cool. Hi, Kitty. Hello, David. Nice to have you along with us. Bob Spencer, Clyde, along. Oh, and all the way from Arkansas. Hi, y'all. Hope everyone's having a good night. We are having a good night tonight. Shannon, Lee's with us tonight. Jennifer's, his wife, is with us, hoping a good night from Brandenburg, Kentucky. Oh, we stretch all across this great country of ours, as we've been doing. And Danielle, my goodness gracious, the last time I saw her was in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. And nice to have Danielle with us tonight. What an audience already. We're having too much fun. In fact, what's funny, she was with us when I gave a Bigfoot talk at this special conference for these high school students that are just excellent. And we were along with Michael Pyle, the butterfly expert, and also the Sasquatch guy. Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. And God love her, Annabelle's with us again tonight as well. Hello, Annabelle. Hope everything's great with you. Sitting outside. That's a nice warm night to do that. My goodness. Anybody seen lightning bugs? Any lightning bugs out there seen as of yet? They'll be here soon. Also want to remind everyone before we kick in here that we do have our posters available. We do. Oh, before I even forget that, don't forget about our Facebook page, Footers Forum. And we've got some interesting things on there. We got some stuff from Todd Prescott, our good friend from Canada. Hi, Kathy. And we have the original interview, Roger Patterson, when he interviewed Fred Beck from the 1924 Ape Canyon incident. So that is on there. So you need to check that out. Also, some great videos featuring such legends as Renee DeHinden. That's on there as well. We'll have some other stuff from Todd Prescott. He's quite the historian. And he's also was the one that was basically cataloged and put together all of John Green's notes and facts and papers and all this all put together. In fact, I think that's how we originally met. Hello, Carrie. She says there's a few lightning bugs out there. But yeah, so we're going to be having that on Footer's Forum. A lot of really cool, legendary Bigfoot stuff, because that's what we're all about. You know what I'm saying? And Annabelle, you need to listen to that sometime if you have an opportunity. The lovely Annabelle Parker from Gaston, Indiana. Don't forget. There we go. That one is available. Our print. Sasquatch. That one is available. You can message me through Larry Battson or Larry the Animal Guy and Friends or Footer's Forum. Any of those things will work. And of course, the one that everyone loves. Do you feel like something watching? I don't know why it's moving. It's out of control. But yeah, so that one's available as well. I found a book today. In fact, I went into my Bigfoot. I've got 2 huge boxes of Bigfoot stuff, you know, books and notes and different things I've collected over the years. And so I was looking through the books because it's always, you know, I remember a lot of my old friends. And I found this book, and it's by John Bindernagel, and I highly recommend it. It's called North America's Great Ape, the Sasquatch. Let me show you the cover. There we go. And this was written by a wildlife biologist, Dr. Bindernagel. I'm sure he was a doctor, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure it was. Now he signed this one for me. That makes it even cooler, yeah. But it's filled with great facts and information. And you know, I kind of remember when I first became interested in this, I'd pick up the books from Peter Byrne. I think Peter Byrne was the first one I really had that was somewhat substantial. And of course, I'd had some history. When I grew up in the west side of Indianapolis, where I grew up now is filled with shopping centers and stores and mini malls, that sort of thing, local food joints. But when I was growing up, it was fields and this woods that was, well, it was pretty cool. It was beautiful woods. And I can still remember that day I went back there with a couple of friends. And there was always one spot that we enjoyed so much because all these long grapevines would hang down almost to the ground. And they had been cut, so they made these incredible swings. We'd go in there and swing on those grapevines for hours and hours. Well, I can remember that day, and I believe, I'm not dead certain, but it was in the summertime, of course. I think it was in August, probably. And I can remember going back to that spot. And this may have gotten my interest in the Sasquatch Bigfoot legend. As we walk into this clearing, I look up in this tree, and I see something sitting in this tree that is black in color. And just about that time, it had ventured out onto the limb far enough that the limb had cracked. And it was falling to the ground. And as it's falling, my feet are already moving. They're moving. And I can remember it hitting the ground and one long arm reaching up. And we pretty much ran all the way home. And I can remember having a dream. I had a dream of, even though I don't really remember what it looked like so much. I mean, right after it happened, it was so quick. And we were moving so fast. That's it. It was. But I can remember that night having a dream of what appeared to be, it looked like an ape creature walking out of those woods and into that field in a dream. So I'd already had in my brain that possibly crazily, a young child's imagination, mine was wacky as it was anyway, that there could be existence of something like this, per se. Something like this. And I can still remember reading about the sightings that occurred around Rochdale, Indiana. People describing a half man, half ape animal. Now, Rochdale, from where we are right now, is just about 20 miles, maybe 25 miles. Really nice community. Basically in the middle of the big fields, not a very large town. Have a hardware store and stuff. But I can remember looking in the newspaper and reading about this. And I forget, they call him something Freddy. I'll have to look that up. And it had been seen for some time. Then all of a sudden, of course, no more. I was watching a podcast like what we do here. They actually had a guest. That was pretty amazing. And they were talking about going out and on their expeditions, their Sasquatch Bigfoot expeditions, and they say how many times, he said we hardly ever see anything. And I thought, God, that is so truthful. That is just so truthful. I mean, I was watching the most silly thing last night. Annabelle, I hope you've never sat through this, but the name of the documentary, and I don't even want to call it a documentary because it was so silly. It was called Bigfoot is Real. Okay, I saw the title. I didn't know much about it. I don't watch Bigfoot documentaries too much on television, excuse me. But here was this documentary, and it was by this group down in the southeastern United States. I'm not even going to mention their name. But they have a regular group, and their goal was to go out and kill one. And that was it. That was it. They were all dressed up in high-powered rifles and night vision and all this, but their goal was to kill one. Now, I thought to myself at that minute, Shannon said, oh my, I hated that show. And I thought for myself, why are you making the decision? Because you want to be the one to prove that they do exist. That you want to make the decision to actually kill them. Well, right away, when I look at them. And hi, Christy. You're on time. We haven't gone far. And right when I looked at them as they sat around there, in their camouflage and and they got this all figured out with these things. But he didn't have nothing figured out. You have nothing figured out. These are totally unpredictable. Why do you think there's never been a really, really good movie that we've seen? A film, a picture, except the Patterson-Gimlin film. Nothing predictable about them. So right away it proved me. And then they're saying things that there's no way they could ever prove. And so they've got a camera crew. Now let me tell you what's involved with the camera crew. Normally have a sound man. Okay. Judging by the way the TV program was, that's not a documentary. I'm sorry, I almost made a mistake. It looked like at least a two cameramen. So you got three people besides the half a dozen or more of them sitting around a campfire deciding when they're going to blast this thing. Oh, Danielle can't stand it. She's got her eyes hit. Yeah, they're going to go. So, they're all stationed. They got on their camouflage. They got the moss on them and stuff. Got the moss on them. They're going to go back there and sit in the woods for hours. They're going to wait for them. Of course. All of a sudden, you hear a shot ring out. Oh, Yeah, of course, he's going to get a shot. Of course, they got to make a movie. They got to make, and he claimed he shot it and ran off through the woods. And I'm thinking, no way. He did. He just shot that guy in the sky. And needless to say, there was, they found broken limbs and things. Oh, yeah, they found that stuff. They found them broken limbs and places where it looked like it scooted its foot. It looked like it scooted its right foot right there. And look where it's going up this embankment. Do you see any blood? No. See no blood. Yeah, it scooted right up this embankment and it took off through the woods this way. And oh, we almost had it. We need a corpse. That's all we need. What you need is another hobby. What you need is another way to spend your time. There's a lot of food kitchens and things that need volunteers, or food banks that need people to load up boxes of food. That's what you guys need to be doing. Because what this is silliness, and I am so disappointed in the Travel Channel for even showing it. My gosh. Here's the truth. There probably were Sasquatches back there. They watched them, and they knew where they were at the entire time. They knew where they hung their game cams. They knew everywhere. They knew where every one of those guys was hid. You think? Of course they did. Agreed, Christy says. I've already lost that bet. I love Bigfoot, Carly says. I do too, Carly. Oh, reality shows aren't real. I know they're not. It's all fake. It's all fake. That's why I had such a problem with not finding Bigfoot. I mean, I think it's if it gets young people interested in going into the outdoors. I've said this before on this broadcast. Go. Because you're going to discover a lot of other things. We had a friend come over today. She has 2 beautiful ponds on her property, and she goes fishing to catch fish to feed our alligators. She's over 80 years old. And she came by today with a bucket of fish for our alligators and our turtles and things we use for our educational programs. And she is so cool because she saw a butterfly, and she was remarking that she named off the species of butterfly. She said, I haven't seen that in 40 years. Not 40 years? I haven't seen one of those. Oh, wow, that's very cool. A butterfly. Just think about that. She spends all her time outdoors, and she hasn't seen this particular species of butterfly for over 40 years. So Yahoo Group and the boys from the Southeast are going to go back there. They're going to get them a Bigfoot. They're going to shoot it. They're going to drag the corpse back here, and we're going to prove that they is real. Hello, Walt. Well, good luck, boys. Because I thought it was disgusting. I thought it was pathetic. Oh, yes. So anyway, I got that off my chest. Sean, see the video? I always saw the videos with your alligators. They looked very hungry. They were hungry. Christy says, I want to investigate so badly, but have nobody to go with me. Struggles. Oh my gosh. Christy went and planned to Shanna. I saw that too. Oh yeah, the video of the alligators. I love alligators. Baxter, what's the name of his friends? We have Adolf, and his name is Adolf because once he almost ate off 2 of my fingers. And the other one's named Gator. Yeah, we thought about that one for a little while. What are we going to name that other alligator? We'll name it Gator. Yeah. So there's Baxter, Adolf, and Gator. The 3 big alligators. Then we have smaller alligators. And Tanya Knight says, what is the point of a dead animal? It happened and it disappeared. Maybe paid off or threatened government cover-up is certain. Procuring the species is not the answer. Interaction through trust is possible. Makes me cringe to think of shooting and killing it. Oh, me too. That's why I was so upset, Tanya. I was mad. I sat there in the dark and watched that show. I watched it till the end because I predicted the end. They were just making stupid television. That's all that was. Plus, here's the deal. Here is the deal. The deal is, if you shoot one, there's 2, 3, 4 of them. I guarantee it that you have not seen. And their wrath is unbelievable. What your mindset will be, if something like that would occur, your mindset would be that if you got out of there, because there's one thing you would not take out of there, and that would be the body. That would not go anywhere. Wouldn't happen. And the other deal is, there's people that have disappeared in this wilderness all over this country. Never seen again. Never seen again. Now, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. And I believe part of this, the reason for survival, well, there's 2 reasons for the survival of the Sasquatch. One is they can intimidate. 2, they can hide so well, you never find them. 8, 9 foot tall animal. You think to yourself, 8, 9 foot tall animal, how does that hide? With no problem. No problem. I look at my forest right now, and all the leaves have come in, and our baboon has an enclosure that she can overlook this entire wooded valley, and there are times that she will look into that valley, and she will, and you don't know what she's seeing. I can't see it, what she's all upset about. But I guarantee you one thing, it must be something serious, or she wouldn't even make a noise. She wouldn't even pay attention to it. 0. I told you all the time. I have told you. In fact, that good friend may be coming tomorrow to see us. When we were putting up our Tanya, you agree that when we were putting in our bear enclosure, I'd gone off to buy tiger food, and I get back, and they said something moved down through your valley. It was big. We couldn't see anything. And then that night, when I was feeding all of our big cats, I had 4 or 5 tigers at the time. We had a couple mountain lions, an African lion. And we had the one Siberian tiger that when you fed him, it was like he had to make a kill. He'd get so aggressive. So aggressive that we'd have to move him to one side of his enclosure, close the door, then put the food in, then let him back in. Pretty simple little procedure. Well, that particular night, or earlier in the day, they thought they had heard something go down through our valley. I walked up with that bucket of meat, and I didn't even see that cat. He's normally at the door. And I looked down through that enclosure in the darkness. I looked down through that enclosure, and I could see him clear at the other end. He looked like one of those concrete statues as he stared back into the forest. I looked over my shoulder to all the other cats who were lined up all along that valley. And every one of them was transfixed on looking back into that ravine. And when I threw the meat to all those cats, they were in no hurry to eat it all, which is completely out of character. They were totally transfixed. Didn't move. And you know what's really bothers me? What really, really bothers me is that I did not walk around the alligator building. I did not walk back into the woods that night, because I would have probably walked into something, seen something, It would have been absolutely amazing. I didn't do it. And I still don't know why. You know, we've talked about telepathy. All animals have it. We have it. We don't use it. Our world is too noisy. Our world, we have too many things that interact with us that we don't even think about. But animals, they are so focused on survival. And they do use, I'll give you an example when you've used it. Maybe you've been riding in the car with your wife, and you're not really talking to one another, not having a conversation. Maybe the radio's just on a little bit. And all of a sudden, one of you will start talking about something, and the other one will say, I was just thinking about that very same thing. Happens to Cheryl and I all the time. It's weird. Weird. These Sasquatches, they've got that ability. You know, they say a hunter, and I'm not a hunter, but they say a hunter, when he's ready to shoot a deer, that he doesn't look at it because the deer will sense it. He will feel that glare. He will actually feel it in his bones. And he'll bolt. Yellowstone Ranger Bob Jackson talked about being on patrol in Yellowstone National Park in the wintertime. For weeks and weeks, he would not see people. He said after about 2 weeks in the forest, you feel everything around you. You feel the wind. Your hearing improves incredibly. So does your eyesight. Because your mind's not getting polluted by anything. Just the sounds and the feeling of Mother Nature. That is what is so great. That is what is so great when going into the woods. And maybe possibly you might find a foot impression in the mud. Maybe an unusual looking piece of hair on a limb. Or you look up and there's a tree limb that's been cracked, broken like a toothpick, but it's about 12 or 13 feet up. So something that was at least 8 or 9 feet tall with arms of 4.5, 5 feet long could just reach up and just break that much strength and power. That's what's exciting about that. So exciting. I mean, it's so much fun. Hi, Amy. Nice to have you with you. Hi, Larry. Good to see you're doing what you love. Well, thank you, Amy. I'm so glad to be doing what I love. I tell you, this last few weeks has been a challenge. Hello, Wendy. Nice to have you with us. Tanya says, maybe it was hungry. It would have killed anything to eat. Are you referring to the cats? Explain that to me a little bit better so I can give a more intelligent response, but I'll say something stupid. I've been known to do that, you know. I've said stuff. You know, I was chastised on one website because I made the comment. I said, you know, someone's testimony that he witnessed someone killing someone else will put someone in prison for the rest of their life. But someone's testimony that they saw an 8-9 foot animal covered with long hair, it may not be true. This is, you know, so what am I saying? Brandon, hello, Brandon. Nice to have you with us tonight. Here on Friday nights, we talk all Bigfoot. 6 foot above is always good. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Why you couldn't go into the woods that night? I don't know. I don't know why I didn't. I don't know why I didn't. I think it's a premonition. I think something told me not to. It might have eaten you, Larry. Well, you know, being I've handled and worked with wild animals, I don't consider. Well, yeah, I do. I consider the Sasquatch, let's say, a wild. I don't know what type of animal it is. It's not an ape. I know what Dr. Bingernagel's book, he called it. What was it? North America's Great. It's not an ape. No. Because if it was, we'd already have one. Smarter. Smarter. And that's hard to believe. Much, much smarter. And when you go into the forest, you don't have a chance. None. I can still remember what Doug Babb told me. He said, Larry, when I saw that Sasquatch, and it stayed on all fours running along my fence row, he says, I knew at that moment when I watched that thing run. Anytime I was in that woods and it wanted to take me down, it could do it. Absolutely. You know they say, don't try to outrun a bear because a bear can run about 30 miles an hour. Yeti, North America's greatest drinking device. Well, Sasquatch would even be sillier to try and run away from. Though people have done it. They've done it. I can still remember the story, and I think it come down, I think it was just northern Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to look into my notes. Getting old. Brandon says he might have asked you for some Jack Link's jerky if you encountered one. No, maybe. If you report sightings in an area, how long are they likely to remain in that area before they move on? We don't know that. We don't have a clue. But I don't go chase those down too much. Like if one walks across the road in front of your car, next night he could be 50 miles away, per se. We don't know that. That's one thing we don't know. Because they are unpredictable. And anybody says that they do are just talking. They're just making tap, 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 tap. That's what they're doing. They don't know. And I get that too. I watch some of these Bigfoot shows and they say things that just, they don't know. That's just simply it. I got a call from this gal. And I've told this story before. I'm actually, folks have heard that a lot. I've told this story before. But anyway, we have our animals here, and we get people that ask to help, and we so appreciate it, but we can't do it now, especially with the COVID-19 situation. We just can't do it with primates and big cats. And so this lady called me, and she said, my son and daughter are honor students at this local high school, and they're just wonderful citizens. So I'm preparing for her to ask me if they could volunteer for their animals. That's what I'm preparing for her to ask me. No. She just wanted to give them credibility. She told me, she says, well, they'd gone to the basketball game in Indianapolis that night, and they were going down the road, and they looked ahead in the road, and they thought someone's big black cow had escaped. So they slowed down. They didn't want to hit it, of course. And they got closer, and they realized that the big black cow wasn't that at all, because now it was standing up. And it was 7-8 feet tall, covered with long black hair, and it just stood there along that road, just glared at them. They come to a complete stop because they couldn't believe what they were seeing. All of a sudden, the brother who was driving the car, he gassed it, and he said, we didn't see that. We didn't see that. He's just screaming it. The young lady is in tears. And they get home as quick as they can. They run in the door, and these kids, she said, they were totally upset. And I said, wow. And I knew the area well, and I knew there had been reports there in the past. And I said, here's the deal. I'm getting ready to go to New York. It's funny because I'm getting ready to go speak at a Bigfoot conference. But I'll tell you what I'll do. I said, when I get back, I'm an artist. I'll draw what they saw, but you have to do something for me. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anyone. Because you will regret it. People will make fun of you. People will laugh at you. If you don't do it. Don't. I totally believe them. I totally have I know they have no reason just to call me and make this story up. She said, okay. And when I get back from New York, I'll call you and we'll get together and we'll make that sketch, like a forensics sketch. Well, I get back, I call the house. This man answers the house, and I said, this is Larry Battson. Someone had called me before I went to New York, and I'm calling about that unusual sighting a couple, 3 weeks ago. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, he called me. This is the number. No, I have no idea, buddy, what you're talking about. None. Zero. So I hung up the phone, and I thought to myself, God bless them. They followed my advice, but I would have loved to have done that sketch. I would have loved to have done it, but it didn't happen. Pamela says, hello, they're smarter than you think and stronger. Can move the side of my house, hitting it. That's power. I know. Absolutely, Pamela. You're totally, we are on the same link. We are on the same connection because they are a lot smarter than we think they are. I know it for a fact. And strong. Well, you figure a 55-gallon oil drum filled with water, that's 8 pounds per gallon. So 440 pounds. Well, you fill them with fuel. I don't know what fuel weighs per pound, but I know it probably weighs more than water. They'd find those in Northern California. Remember Jerry Carew, and when they were putting those logging roads through Bluff Creek in 1958, where he was the one that basically came up with the name of Bigfoot. And the picture of him holding that foot cast they had made, which was absolutely huge. Absolutely, you bet. The cryptid squad has arrived. My goodness. Amy says, thank you, Michael. Michael Moran. They've got a wonderful, the Cryptid Squad's great on Facebook. I get a chance to sneak in there and participate every once in a while, but the Cryptid Squad and Michael Moran, just the best. That's a good group to tie in with. Amy says, we've been thinking of you lately. Well, thank you very much. Hello, Debbie. Nice to have you with us. And Brandon, you are so right. New things are discovered every day. Bigfoot could easily exist. I know it could easily exist. We're not just talking North America. These sightings have occurred around the world. South America. Of course, we all know about orangutan in Borneo, and John McKinnon, and who wrote the book In Search of the Red Ape. He talks about finding the track of this animal and taking it back to London. And they were, the scientists, the anthropologists, they looked at that track and the photograph of it, and they said, well, we've seen this before. We just can't figure out that particular animal has not been discovered. We've seen the tracks, and we're talking scientists now. We're not talking like southeastern Bigfoot hunter guys. They're camouflage and going back there in that swamp there. We're gonna bag us a Bigfoot. Check out Larry's show. You'd like this. Well, thank you, Michael. Or Brandon Inman said it after Michael. We have so much fun. This is Larry the Animal Guy. I want to remind everyone, if you would like to contribute to our animal family, always so much appreciated. You simply go to PayPal, lbatson@peoplebc.com. And as I recover from my medical situation, and as we move on here on Facebook Live, reminding you that 9:30 on Wednesdays, Animal Stories, 42 years, we've been traveling all across this country of ours, presenting animals and educating the public, and there's a story or two. There is. And we talk animals on Wednesday night at 9:30, and every day at 3 p.m., Monday through Friday. It's animal art and fun. We do have a lot of fun. How do you confidently know that someone isn't secretly producing these, like on Jurassic Park? Well, that's a theory I've not heard of before. So, Brandon, you may have something there. Hello, Kathleen. And as I mentioned before, so refreshing, the Yeti. And you know, Yeti doesn't send me any money. We need to email the Yeti company, and they need to start sending us something because I've sold more Yetis on this program. Not only for humans, but they also have a dog, and I guess they're expensive. But yeah, the Yeti, and also our prints. Feel like something watching? There we go. I feel like something watching. I absolutely do. Hi, Kathleen. Nice to have you with us tonight here on Facebook Live. I was intrigued. I was so intrigued because I had a chance to talk to Ron Moorhead. You know, he's the guy behind the Sierra Sounds. And if you've never listened to those on YouTube, they're pretty interesting because I'll tell you a little story. And I mentioned this last week, I believe. Someone I know, excuse me, was down in an area that has become quite renowned for Sasquatch sightings and activity. In fact, every weekend, I'll assure you, there's some Bigfoot group down there doing research. And hi, Jeff. You're always toddler duties. Oh, I know. We have a baboon. It's almost similar. Late join, but love the info. Hope you're healing well and feeling better. I am feeling better. And Jeff, your package should come tomorrow. It should be there by tomorrow. But I forget where I was going. Oh, I was talking about the prints. Okay, there's the prints. Feel like something watching? Just message me through Facebook or PayPal. You can send it. Message me through Facebook. Don't message me through PayPal. I am so computer bad, it's pathetic. Oh, we were talking sounds. But yeah, Ronald Moorhead. So that one's available too. So we have a group of sounds that I play. You always have, listen. Now, what in the world is that? Somebody tried to tell me that was coyotes. I don't think they knew who they were talking to. No sound made by any coyote. We have coyotes here. I hear them all the time. I've never heard that sound before. I was giving a talk in southern Indiana, and I played those sounds during the talk, and a man bolted out of his chair, and he said, I've heard those sounds around their cabin. He said, I have to leave. And he was totally upset. He had to go find his wife. Go find his wife and have her come back and listen to it. And they never showed back up. And he wrote me for the longest time. He says, oh my gosh. Do you ever go hammock camping? No, I've never tried that before. Usually just laid right there on the ground. Michael says, that is one of my favorite recordings. Mine as well. Definitely no coyote. No coyote. No. Because I'll tell you something about the Sasquatch and coyotes. Coyotes fear them. They fear them. And if a pack of coyotes brings down an animal, I will guarantee you, if it's in the right area, the Sasquatch will move in and take that kill. Because they do the same thing. I believe my concept is, of course, no way I can prove it, so that's what someone's going to say. But my feelings is that they'll follow a mountain lion. Let the mountain lion do all the work, almost like a deer hunter. Because we had a gentleman on here one night. He said he's lost 7 deer where a Sasquatch has moved in and taken it. 7 deer. And they'll do the same thing with mountain lions. They'll follow that mountain. And of course, when the mountain lion makes its kill, they make that sound, very distinctive. I didn't do a very good job of it. But they make that sound. And you can hear it quite a distance away. I can still remember being in Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado, and we were at a hike one night to look at deer and elk. And we no sooner took 2 steps out of her car, went out of the forest, wow! And there was no doubt what that was. I said, Dad, that's a mountain lion. He said, we're going to get right back in the car. I wouldn't have done it now. I would not have done that now. I would have gone back there to see if I could gotten a look at that thing. Because I tell you what, mountain lions are probably next to the Sasquatch, one of the most difficult animals to see in the wild. If you see one, that's lucky. You're very, very lucky. You're blessed. And you're blessed if you see a Sasquatch, as long as it isn't a bad situation. Because can you imagine the thrill that would be? The thrill of seeing some, especially a thrill to someone that is does not believe that they do exist. It is a total, right away their brainwaves kind of go like this. Well, Bob Gimlin, he didn't think they really existed. His buddy Roger Patterson was showing some stuff and played some recordings of interviews that he had done. Well, Fred Beck was one of them. And when Bob went down there to help, Roger was just his friend. It's just his friend. He didn't actually believe that the Sasquatches were real, true. But guess what happened? Yeah, one walked right in front of them. Produced the greatest Sasquatch video evidence that we've ever seen. And all that malarkey about a massacre of Sasquatches that day is it's just not true. It just doesn't add up. It makes no sense. None whatsoever. Because if you look at that video and you watch it as it walks along that riverbed, it does not look at the ground once. A flood had just gone through there. There was debris everywhere. That Sasquatch walked straight ahead. With only one split second, it turned around and took a look to make sure that the attention of Roger and Bob Gimlin, Roger Patterson, was on it. Because I believe, well, I know for a fact, because they had said to me, Bob had told me, they had found 3 different sizes of footprints in that area that day. 3. So they knew there was at least 3 in that area. So as that one was walking that way, 2 were up in, because you notice, here's the thing. They were probably up in those woods because it could have made a left turn as soon as it got out in the opening and been up in those trees, and you would not have been able to see it. And instead of the video length we have now, it would have just been a few quick blurry seconds because Roger Patterson would not have stabilized that camera yet. Because it takes him a while to finally get down and stable and got those few frames of film that were clear and easy to determine what we're looking at. At the start of the original, at the start of it, the camera's going up and down like this. You can't make out anything. Not until it walks into that riverbed and Roger stabilizes that camera. Michael says, how fast do you think that Sasquatch was going in that video? I don't know if that's ever been determined or not. I suspect it was running. What does a human walk? How fast do people walk? What, 10 mile an hour? Is that what we walk at probably? Quick clip. These children with a couple Mountain Dews under their belt, they'll walk real fast. I don't know. Probably, I I was just guesstimating, just throwing something out there. 20 mile an hour maybe. But that's pretty quick. And that's pretty good, And when you look at that creature on that film, you see power, you see determination, and you see the instinct for survival. Because it wasn't wasting any time. But it was not only thinking about its own safety, it was also thinking about the two others that were up there in the forest somewhere. Now, there's people that have looked at that video and said, well, you could see them. Well, I haven't seen that yet. Not yet. We're going to need to get another one. We're going to need to get another video. And I think it's going to be out there one day. There was a time I thought, no way. Because it's a sunny day. Most of the sightings occur after dark, so that's very difficult to get a good film footage of. Very difficult. Practically impossible. It's a nice day. It wasn't raining. Nice fall, sunny day. The thing stayed right out there in the open, so when Roger Patterson, who wasn't a photographer, cameraman, finally got that camera stabilized and he took those few moments of pictures where you could really get a fairly darn good look at it. And you know what's so special about that film? They had Bob told me, he said, we didn't have any idea whether we had anything or not. Because in those days, you know what you had to do? You had to take that camera, put it in your lap, cover it with a coat so you didn't let any light in. Take the film out of the camera, seal it up into a box so no light would be exposed to it. Then take it to some place to have them develop it. And a week or two later, you'll have to get a chance to look at what you're looking at there, your film. And you're right, Lee. It was also showing who was the boss of the woods. Hey, absolutely. I mean, there was no fear in that. It was on a mission. And this mission was for those guys to check it out. Because Bob, he asked Roger, he says, you want me to track it? He said, and they didn't do it. It would have been difficult, too, because Bob Titmus told me he went there after the film had been shot, and he did track it for a distance. And at the top of this hill, he said there was a spot where there were rocks about the size of golf balls, I guess. They're all covered with green algae. And he said you could see where it set its heels in and set its buttocks in. And from that point, it had a perfect view of the valley. In other words, while Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin were making their foot cast, this thing was watching them. And it realized that it was safe. And it realized the other two that was in that vicinity were safe as well. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe all three of them were standing there in that spot. And all three of them were watching me make them foot castings. Could be. The Bluff Creek Project has done amazing things with that film area. Stephen told me, they have so many game cams on that area that nothing walks through there without this picture being taken. Including the discovery of the Humboldt marten, which they photographed. Okay, here we go. That California Department of Natural Resources thought that the Humboldt marten was extinct from that area because no one had seen them until the Bluff Creek Bigfoot Project got a really nice film of one on their game camera. Little animal you wouldn't think would be able to hide from man too long, but it had done a pretty good job. And if it wasn't for those gentlemen doing that and setting up those cameras there in the Bluff Creek Patterson Gimlin film site, Department of Natural Resources for California would think it was still extinct. So here's what we need to do. Okay, that film footage proved the Humboldt martin's still there. So if we can get a piece of film footage, not a corpse, but a piece of film footage that is on the quality of something like filming a bear walking through there, or a deer, or a Humboldt martin. Something in the quality where we can actually study it and get a detailed look at it. It's done. It's done. It's over. They're there. Leave them alone. Protect them. Make them an endangered species. That's what the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service would do. If you took a film like that, a really, really good film of a living, breathing Sasquatch, to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, they've had a plan since the 70s what they would do. And that would be classified as an endangered species. And that entire area that they are in be protected. You know, the Bigfoot or Sasquatch is probably the most fascinating animal we have on this planet. It's so fascinating because we know so little about it. And I've always told the young people, we're always afraid of things we know very little about. We're always afraid of that sort of thing. So when one sees a Sasquatch, and they just see the image of it, they know nothing about it. They don't know whether it's going to hurt them, harm them, walk the other way, walk toward them. They don't know this. So it's very frightening. It has basically ruined the experience of the outdoors for many a person. I've talked to so many hunters, and they've told me about their reports. And I'll say, let's go there and show me where. No, you don't understand. I don't go there anymore. I have no desire to go there anymore. I've seen what lives in those forests. And it may have been one of the most frightening experiences of my entire lifetime. Hello, Kyle from Naples, Florida. In China, the government made it to where no one can mess with them. They have a lot of land to roam free. Well, that's smart, Michael. You know, in Russia, the Russians are totally convinced that there's something to all of this. Now, we've all heard about the particular incident. And gosh, I can never remember the pronunciation of that pass in Russia where those students were found that had been killed. In fact, tonight's flyer for this particular program is the picture, the last picture that was on their cameras that they found next to their bodies. Someone tried to tell me that picture, and look, if you look at tonight's flyer for Talking Bigfoot, you'll see that. And someone said that, well, that was just one of the campers that was walking in. I don't think so. No. 11 students, thank you. 11 students, the Aaron, yeah. 11 students killed. Some of them had I know at least one of the bodies had their tongue missing. I think one of the bodies had their eyes missing too. Then I think about the report from Washington at the reservation, where the 3 young men went back to run the salmon nets and never returned. And the elders who basically took care of the Sasquatch situation, they found them, and it wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pretty, and they weren't alive. I think it would depend. My thoughts, it would make me depend on the area. Because they talk about particular parts of the world that man has not been to a lot, and how differently the animals respond to us. They don't have as much fear. So you have to think in the wilds of Canada, British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, the Yukon, all the millions of acres in Ontario. My gosh, that's just dense pine forest. Dense pine forest. It'd be so difficult. I was reading this. Somebody there seemed to be some misunderstanding between Shannon and Michael, and Shannon, you need to join us on the Cryptid Squad. Yes, you do. If you haven't had a chance to check that out. You also check out our Facebook page, Footers Forum, and that beast is run by my good friend Cody Herring, who happens to be in Dale Hollow, Tennessee tonight. And Leo says, what story was this, Larry? Sounds like a good read. It is a good read. I'll look it up for you, and I'll tell you what I'll do, Lee. I'll message it to you tonight after the program. I'll send you a message with about the Russian incident. It's very fascinating to read. There's been a couple documentaries done on it, and there's still an indecision of what actually happened. Yeti, North America's greatest drinking device. You know, every Friday night when we climb on this animal called Facebook, that's a good way to put it, isn't it? And we talk about Bigfoot. I usually can't sleep for an hour afterwards. I can't. I get so excited. It's so much fun. And I find it so fascinating. And there are certain things about this I'm going to tell you right now about this Sasquatch Bigfoot legend that I know that no one else knows. Maybe one Friday night, I'll get into it a little bit. I don't know. But all I'm going to tell you is that be safe. If you're in the woods, enjoy it to the max. Love your neighbor. Let's be friends. We need a friendlier place. We don't need any more of this dissension. We can't hug our neighbor because of this COVID-19. But I'll tell you what we can do. We can have kind thoughts. And we can pray for our neighbors. And it's going to be okay. Absolutely will. This is Larry Battson. Annabelle, if you're still with us, have a good night's sleep tonight. Oh, here we go, before I leave. The Russian Yeti, the killer lives. Okay, I'll do that. You should watch the movie Jim Henson's Turkey Hollow. I should, Danielle? Maybe I will. Maybe I will. My gosh, that sounds interesting. I love Jim Henson. I still say The Muppets is one of the funniest shows ever on television. My gosh. Genius. Genius. It all is. Well, have a great Saturday. It's going to be a great Saturday. It's going to be a great week. I'm addicted to your show, Lori. Wish it was a little longer. Okay, we'll make it a little longer. We can do that. We can. That's easy to do. Because I could talk about this for days. Ask my wife. Ask my wife the time we sat down on the couch and I sat down and I says, you won't believe who I just talked to. And so she'll say, yeah, probably not. And I said, I just talked to a guy. I just talked to a fellow. I just talked to him. He lives out in Oregon. Jim says, what are your thoughts on using a red light setting on a flashlight? Oh, they'll see it. I just got home. Hey, Larry. Well, darn it, Jim. Or is he out in the woods? I know he wasn't out in the woods because it's too early. It's only 11 o'clock here, Eastern Standard Time. They'll still see that, though. But I've always said make as much noise as you want because there's no way. You and Anna both went Saturday morning. She's a train wreck. Oh, well, God love her. She's still up. That's fantastic. I love Annabelle. Annabelle, you need to go to Footer's Forum if you have not and see what may be America's cutest, best-looking Sasquatch researcher. And I believe next year she's going into the first grade, and she loves Sasquatch. She researches Sasquatch. She has her own areas that she's unbelievable, unbelievable, and she does amazing work. And she will be the one that will write a book one day that will literally blow our socks off. I'm telling you right now, she's going to do that. She's going to write a book, and it's going to blow the Bigfoot Sasquatch world up. It will, because I still think anybody's going to get a film by the time she's grown up. That Shannon's going. Oh, wait a minute, Shannon! Before you go to work, we leave you with a little something here. Hold on. Okay, hang on. Don't go yet. See, Shannon has to walk to her car in the dark. Every week I play that. She's terrified to walk to her car. She should have never told me that. I know, I'm kind of a joker type of guy. Dang it, Larry. That's so funny. Oh, my Lord. I'm laughing so hard. But anyway, I was talking about my friend in Oregon. But he had anyway, he told me, he was talking about this. He said what they would do is they'd go, him and a friend would go way back in the forest and no lights. And they'd go find a place back in the forest and they would just sit. And they had these things that you pop, the glow sticks. Here I go. I couldn't think of what they were called. Glow sticks. They'd hang them from the trees. They'd sit there and they could hear coming through the forest. Shoom, 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 shoom. Bipedal. 2 animals. Love you too, Shannon. And then they'd watch those glow sticks. And something would pick those glow sticks up over that limb and carry them off into the forest. And they said it was like they were almost floating through the forest as they'd watch those glow sticks go off into the darkness. He said, Larry, I think they're getting to know us because they seem, when we go back there, and he says, if we take anyone else with us, they don't come around. Not at all. But if it's just the 2 of us go back there, we sit there real still. We'll hear them coming. And at first it was like they were trying to be quiet. I could barely hear those footsteps. I mean, if they want to, when they walk through the forest, they can be absolutely silent. You know, they used to say that Native Americans could do that. They could walk through the forest and not make a sound. Well, Sasquatch can do that too. Or they could not care. And this 600-700 pound animal can make a lot of noise moving through the forest, sometimes intentionally, because they want you out of there. But he said some nights, he said, you just sound like this was a new routine. They'd pick up those glow sticks and they'd walk off through the forest. He says the most unbelievable thing to see them do that. You know, it goes on and on. I could sit here and talk for days, I could. But I am still told to get my rest because those doctors were mean to me. They were mean. I have got holes in my stomach from when they were mean to me. But I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad all the badness is gone. All the cancer is gone. So it is all good. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. We love each and every one of you. Thanks for watching us on Fridays. Also, if you have friends or so forth, you can watch them after the fact. Just simply go to Watch on Facebook. And on the search spot, just put Larry Battson and all the different shows that we've done here on Facebook. And I was looking the other day, and it's quite a few. I couldn't believe it. They're all there. They're all there. Have a blessed evening. We'll talk to you soon. Good night.